Australia has more than enough wilderness to make strange stories feel possible. Across rainforests, arid country, rivers and mountain ranges, people have reported animals that science has never confirmed. A cryptid is a reported creature whose existence has not been established by reliable physical evidence. Eyewitness reports can be sincere and interesting, but a new species needs testable evidence, a specimen. Diagnostic genetic evidence, clear repeatable imagery, or remains that experts can examine. The yowie is usually described as a large, hair-covered, upright figure seen in forested country, especially along the Great Dividing Range. Colonial newspapers recorded stories of so-called yahoos, hairy men, and native apes. Modern yowie accounts may combine several older traditions with later popular culture. Despite footprints, recordings, and many claimed encounters, no physical evidence has established an unknown Australian primate or human relative. Possible explanations include people seen briefly through vegetation, large animals viewed at an unusual angle, expectation, embellished memories, and deliberate deception. The word bunyip became attached to water beings from southeastern Aboriginal traditions. But those traditions are diverse and should not be reduced to a single monster story. During the 19th century, settler newspapers treated the bunyip as if it might be an undiscovered beast living in swamps, billabongs, and rivers. A supposed bunyip skull displayed in Sydney in 1847 attracted crowds, but naturalists identified it as the deformed skull of a foal or calf. Unfamiliar seals traveling inland, booming bird calls, half-seen animals, and the real hazards of deep water may all have influenced some later reports. The Queensland tiger is described in later folklore as a dog-sized, striped or mottled predator, sometimes said to climb trees. The spotted-tailed quoll is a real native carnivore. In poor light, its spots, long tail and low body could be remembered as stripes or an unfamiliar cat-like shape. Other suggestions include feral cats, dogs, exaggerated quoll sightings, or stories influenced by the striped thylacine. No specimen has confirmed a separate animal. Unlike most cryptids, the thylacine was a documented marsupial predator. It disappeared from mainland Australia thousands of years ago and survived much longer in Tasmania. The last known captive thylacine died at Hobart Zoo on the 7th of September, 1936. People continue to report striped, dog-like animals. Most photographs and videos are distant, brief, or ambiguous, and none has produced accepted modern biological evidence. A 2023 statistical study suggested the species may have persisted beyond 1936, perhaps into the late 20th century. That model does not confirm a living population. Panther and puma stories have circulated for generations, often involving a large, dark animal crossing a road, paddock or forest track. A cat on open ground can appear much larger when the distance, slope, and vegetation are uncertain. Thick winter fur can also change its outline. Escaped exotic cats have existed in Australia at different times, but the long-term breeding populations claimed in folklore have not been demonstrated with bodies, genetic evidence, or repeatable camera trap evidence. Australia really did have a giant monitor lizard, Varanus priscus, commonly called Megalania. Fossils show that it lived during the Pleistocene. Estimates vary because its skeleton is incomplete, but it was far larger than any living Australian lizard. The youngest accepted remains are tens of thousands of years old. The Parenti is Australia's largest living lizard. A large individual seen briefly beside a road or rock face can look enormous, especially without a reliable scale. A surviving giant monitor population would leave feeding signs, footprints, shed skin, bones, and genetic traces. None has been verified. Stories from the Hawkesbury describe long-necked or serpentine shapes, wakes, splashes, and large bodies moving beneath the surface. Known animals, floating debris, low viewing angles, and several wakes joining together can create a surprisingly creature-like shape. The river is large and complex, but mystery alone is not evidence of an unknown giant animal. Australia is vast, many animals are nocturnal, and a brief encounter in darkness can be genuinely difficult to interpret. Memory is reconstructive, distance distorts scale, and expectation influences what people notice. None of that requires a witness to be dishonest. New species are still discovered, including in Australia. But the strongest cryptid claims remain unconfirmed until evidence can be independently tested. Cryptids sit where landscape, culture, history, and imperfect observation meet. That is what makes them worth investigating and worth questioning.